G'day everyone, Adam here, going Overland. This week I want to talk to you about is induction cooking and why we won't be going to induction cooking. I had a lot of people asking us why when are we going induction cooking and why won't we go induction cooking. So I just want to put my thoughts in a video, share with you guys our experiences and what we've learnt and what we know. Do a lot of camping, so and the thing with us is it's a family of four, so a lot of induction cooking people, they'll have a big caravan, they go to caravan parks, huge solar setup, lots of money. That's not us, that's not who we are. We like remote camping, hard to get to places, you need a lightweight setup. And a lot of the times things like change like that is more to do with the fad of changing. Like, it's exciting change. We went through this whole thing with the car, was so excited, just the thought of changing it, until the reality set in is, it's a different thing. So let's get into this week's video. We'll go in ins and outs of why we won't be going induction, what you can do to your gas setup to make it better, and some of the tips that we've learned along the way. Alright, let's get into this week's video. Make sure, before I forget, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, heaps of content coming. Just helps us spread our channel around, it does. Thanks guys, give us that thumbs up. So on our big lap of Australia, 6-month lap of Australia, where we cooked on our cooker the whole time, we only used about $120 worth of gas refills. So we have 2 bottles in the camper, and with that we were swapping them between the gas stove and the shower system, the hot water system, the Julka. So we never ran out of gas. Or if we did run out of gas, it'd be the cooker first, and there'd still be heaps of gas in the gas bottle we're using for the hot water system. So every time we fill up the gas bottle, that bottle would then go onto the shower system, and the one that was running a little bit lower would go onto the cooker. That way there was always gas. We never ran out. We never had 2 empty bottles. So around Australia, it was super easy running gas. It was no issue at all. Sometimes when it was windy, look, I know why people want induction. If you can cook in the wind, it's really handy. But there's ways around that too. Alright, so some of the things to make your gas system work better. So one thing is, what sort of gas cooktop do you run? Is it one of those cheap little fold-up ones with the little gas cylinders? Because yeah, they are useless in the wind. Alright, the more you spend on your gas stove, the better it works. There are some really good ones out there. The Americans have that really good one. You see a lot of the Overlanders using them. I don't know if you can get them in Australia or not. You might have to special order them. We've got one that's in the camper that's bolted in there. It's worth about $400 or $500, I think, that gas stove. And even with that, we've done a few tweaks to it to make it better. The biggest issue with cooking with gas, the biggest complaint with cooking with gas is the wind, cooking in the wind. So a few ways to combat that. Right, so first up, have a good quality wind guard. We got one from Anaconda. It's a big thing. It's got a fair bit of weight so it doesn't blow around. It does really help, it does. Another thing we have to help with that is we got a big tin box, not a big tin box, a small tin box that we store things like Glad wrap and extra sponges and stuff in there. We can pull that out and use that as well for the wind block. I know what it is, every time I record, bloody aeroplanes, doesn't matter where I go, flying around. Middle of nowhere there's aeroplanes flying around, little ones. So the next way to combat the wind is the way you park. If you have a camper trailer like ours and the kitchen's out the back, face the front of the camper into the wind, blocks a lot of the wind. Also, where we camp here in the trees, we are really well protected from the wind. Out there on the beach, it's 30 or 40 km/h winds. It is blowing a gale, but in here you can just see a little bit of the trees rustling, nothing at all. So campsite's really critical too. I know it can sound like a bit of a pain having to choose your campsite based on your camper, but when it's really windy, it'd be really uncomfortable camping on the 4 dunes. Really uncomfortable. You're just copping that wind all the time. So we're really comfortable in here, tucked from the wind, but it's just making life a lot easier. Not just for cooking, just for general living, especially sleeping, because there's nothing worse than having your whole tent shaking around and you're trying to sleep. So where you camp, where you park, does really help with cooking. Another big tip I can give you guys is your gas jets. You can change the gas jets on your stoves. I'm not sure about those cheap ones, but with ours in the camper, we went up one size on both of them because we've got a small burner and a big burner. Yeah, went up one jet size on both of them, and the amount of gas that comes out, especially that small one, huge difference. The small one always used to blow out in the wind. Now we've gone up that one size, we've never had that issue again. So look into the gas jets, see if you can change it. You might be able to go to a barbecue shop or a gas shop somewhere. They might help you out, give you a tip which way to go. The next big thing I can tell you guys is your cookware. What are you cooking on? If you got really thin pots and pans, the wind will definitely draw the heat out of it. If you're cooking on thick cast iron fry pan, or even we use the big camp oven sometimes on our stove, huge difference that makes. We've noticed that when we used to cook on a little burner, the little cheap ones, if we cooked with our big cast iron fry pan, the wind didn't matter. It was really helpful having that cast iron pan. Okay, so the first thing to consider when you do go induction is run through the numbers of the costs. So look, I think for us, if we were to go induction cooking, we would need 2 100 Ah batteries just for the cooking, plus the battery we've already got for the lights, the water pumps, running the fridge. So 2 100 Ah lithium batteries on top of what we already got. So the weight wise, it's only probably about 20 kilos, so the weight's not too bad there, but cost is about $2,000 for that. Then you need a way of charging it. Right now we do not run a DC to BC charger from the car to the trailer. It runs purely off solar. So we would be looking at a 30 amp or 50 amp BC to DC charger. We would then be looking at probably an extra solar panel, a big solar panel that we can move around. Right now it's still in the shade. The solar panel on top is still in the shade, so that'd be no good. So an extra solar panel, possibly an MPPT regulator with that solar panel. Perhaps the DC to DC charger would have one in it. You would also be looking at all the wiring, install cost, somewhere to mount that solar panel when you're traveling. So there's a few things to consider with that. Then on top of all that, you then have to look at the cooker itself and the big inverter. So you probably want at least a 2,000 watt inverter, possibly 3,000 watt. You want a good quality one. You don't want that thing to fail. That thing fails and lets you go, that's it, no more cooking. Then the induction cooker, I don't believe they're that expensive, 60 to 100 bucks. Probably the top quality ones probably use less power, so you probably want to spend up big there, get a good quality one. So look, all up, I went for the numbers. I think it's between about $3,500 to $4,000 for you know, a half decent induction setup. So not cheap. So our pretty good gas system set up, the stove, the gas bottles, the hard line with the gas certificate, all up that's worth about 700 bucks. So quite a significant decrease in cost compared to induction. So another reason why we won't go induction is we camped here for a week, right? And we're getting a little bit of sunlight, but we've got a lot of clouds this week. So look, our battery system is sort of almost on the verge of struggling right now. Just with running the fridge, the pumps, the lights, charging some batteries up. It's sort of on the point where it's just enough. But if we had induction cooking, we would really be struggling, and we would be worried about how much we use the cooker. So with gas, we have no worry at all. We're cooking that whenever we want. We're making hot breakfasts, hot lunches, hot dinners. We also use the stove to heat up water for the dishes. So if we had an induction cooker, you know, how many times can you boil the water, you know? I'd be really worried at a place like this where we've got so much cloud, and we are in one of the sunniest sites. There are sites further up that are completely covered by trees. You'd have no solar at all. So then, unless you brought a big heavy generator, or you're sitting there idling your car for 4 or 5 hours a day, I don't know what chance you'd have. You'd be so stressed, you would. So big thing for us is being able to cook and not have to worry and stress about how much power is going back into those batteries. Fair enough if it's just the two of you, you're traveling every day, you're running that car every day, yeah, it's a good idea. But if you're a family, sometimes your travels are different. Sometimes you're on the move the whole time, sometimes you're sitting still for a week. It just wouldn't suit that setup where you're sitting still somewhere, you've got no choice of where you camp, you've got no choice over the weather. Induction cooking would really be a pain right about now, I reckon. As the main cook, especially on the lap of Australia, did you have any problems cooking with gas?
Only when it was really, really windy, but the wind guard that we had, the wind guard helped a lot. So
yeah,
no real issues. I like cooking with gas.
So would you, if it was no cost involved, well, it's a bit hard because you haven't tried induction.
Well, I guess the concept of induction looks good, and the people that I've seen on YouTube that run induction setups and stuff, it looks easy, it looks easy to clean, and it looks easy to use, but the amount of power that it draws, you know, I just...
So when we camped here for a week and we're in the trees and we're in the shade, I think we would really struggle, especially cooking a meal for 4 people. If you're cooking for just 1 or 2, yeah, it's not a problem. I think your cooking time's a lot less. But when you're cooking for 4, you're making a big meal, and you can be cooking for half an hour on the stove.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we boil 2 litres of water for the dishes, don't we? And then you have a coffee after dinner. So it's a lot of energy to try and put back into the batteries.
Yeah, and I just don't think there's no need for us, and this is for us. Yeah. There's no need for us to have both setups, but I think gas is more versatile, whereas induction, I don't know. I'd have to look at like the amount it would cost to set up and the amount of power it would take to run, but I'd want the gas because it's very reliable.
Yeah, it is reliable. We've never had an issue where we've run out of gas on both bottles, because we always carry 2 bottles with that camper, and we've never had the stove not working.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just think, yeah, for us, there's no reason to change other than the sake of change. Yeah. We're very happy with gas, and I can't see us ever wanting to change. I can't ever see lithium and induction cooking being so efficient where it's, you know, whether it's all pros to change. Yeah. Right now there's a lot more cons to change than pros, so we're going to stay gas for a long time, I reckon.
Yeah, probably.
An hour after we sat down and did that talk about the cooker, look at the sky, completely clouded over. It's only 11 o'clock in the morning. It's probably going to be like this for the rest of the day. So Larissa's in there making a hot lunch right now. Once again, if we had induction cooker, today's only day 4 of 7. Yeah, we would really be struggling if we had induction cooker. We would either be running the car right now and trying to charge up those batteries, or I don't know, we'd have solar panels out everywhere. So I don't know, gas is just easy. Enough of my ranting around, but yeah, that's my opinion why we're not going to induction. Gas is just so much easier. It's cheaper. Gas bottle lasts forever, it seems like, when you're camping. Biggest thing is make sure it's full before you go, or half full, depending on if you're just going for a weekend. Make sure you've got enough gas. Put your cooker at the back of the camper out of the wind. Have a wind guard. Check, see if you can go up your gas jet sizes. Plenty of things like that. And your cookware. Big cast iron. If you're camping at the beach and there's a lot of wind, big cast iron fry pan. Amazing what a difference it makes. Alright guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.